There's a lot of things I wish I knew sooner in Arc Raiders that would have helped me progress faster, level up quicker, and stop wasting time early on. In this video, I'm going to go over everything I wish I knew sooner so you don't have to make the same mistakes I did when starting out. And if you're already deep into Arc Raiders and know a few tricks that I don't mention here, feel free to drop them in the comments below so everyone can learn from them too. Alright, let's get into it. Early on, the Farro is probably one of the best weapons you can get. It's a heavy break action rifle that fires heavy ammo and has strong armor penetration against Arc. With a damage of 40, it does decent damage against Arc, but also is great with other enemy players. It does solid damage against Arcs, able to take out Wasps and Hornets in 2 well-placed shots. It's also surprisingly strong against enemy raiders. Pairing this with the Stitcher as a backup weapon, which is a fully automatic submachine gun that fires light ammo, is a great combination early on. You can get both the Farro and the Stitcher from free loadouts. They're also extremely cheap to buy from vendors. Once available for purchase, or whenever you find one out in the open, consider swapping out the Farro for the Anvil. It's basically the Farro, but in a single action hand cannon, doing high damage with strong arc armor penetration. You can usually find them out in the open just from looting. If not, it's also pretty cheap to purchase from vendors too. As for augments, you're going to want to use looting. Early on, you'll likely only have access to the Mark 1 looting augment, but once you unlock it or are able to purchase it, you're going to want to use the Mark 2 looting augment. On top of having a higher weight limit than combat and tactical, it also has a second safe pocket, which you can use to ensure that you can extract with any rare items you find. Speaking of safe pockets, you want to move valuable items into them immediately when you find them. That's because you never know when an engagement might take you down, like PvP, or even just getting shot at from Arc. Once it's in your safe pocket, you know that you can extract with it no matter what. Also, when you're building your loadout, consider putting rare items that you might use into your safe pockets. Items like Raider hatch keys, or even expensive grenades like the Wolfpack grenade, are great to put into your safe pockets. Then if you need them, you can quickly equip them and use them, but this way you don't have to worry about them if you die in a match without using them. You should be playing solo if you want to do quests, level up fast, or farm materials and gold quickly. Solo runs are the most efficient way to progress. You can control your own routes, extract whenever you want, and you don't have to split the loot or rewards with other teammates. You'll be able to focus on quests and finish them a lot faster, earn XP quicker, and walk away with far more loot per hour than if you were to play in a group. The other reason to play solo is that solo lobbies are surprisingly a lot more relaxed and friendly. When you're playing in a group, encounters are far less common, but a lot more deadly. That's because when you're playing in a group, people tend to stick together instead of spreading out like when they're playing in solo. And while you are more likely to encounter other players when you're playing solo versus when you're playing as a team, since people don't stick together and spread out, the encounters are surprisingly friendly. Most players are out there just doing quests, farming, and not doing PvP, since dying means losing progress and all your gear. That said, don't assume everyone's friendly, but most people are. Most players will avoid conflict unless provoked or handed an easy target. You can usually trust people who clearly emote "don't shoot," holster their weapon, or speak in proximity chat saying they're friendly. And if you're friendly, responding the same way is an easy way to de-escalate fast and avoid accidental fights. If you're looking to take on bigger challenges or chasing PvP, it's usually better to play in a group. Squads are best for coordinated fights against bosses like the Queen, doing Harvester events, or just PvP in general. Just like it's important to emote or let other players know you're friendly when you're playing solo, it's also important to communicate when playing in a group. You're going to want to make sure you ping enemies like Arcs or other raiders, or extraction points or points of interest. And if you use voice chat, that's even better since it's that much easier to communicate with people. The ping system is also important when you're playing solo. I use it all the time to mark Arc units and other raiders. It's great for being able to differentiate between Arc units like Hornets, Wasps, and even Rocketeers when they're at a distance. As for the skill tree, you're going to want to focus on a few key skills early on. There are some pretty powerful skills you can get later on, like the Security Breach skill, which lets you breach security lockers, which can be found in the Survival tree. That said, early on you're going to want to focus on skills in the Mobility tree. Skills like Marathon Runner, which make moving around cost less stamina, and Youthful Lungs, which increases your max stamina. You'll need stamina whether you're running around or dodging attacks from enemies. You can actually roll to avoid taking fall damage. If you're falling from a height that you would have normally taken a small amount of fall damage, you can actually roll right when you hit the ground to completely negate the fall damage. There is a limit to this, and you won't actually be able to roll after a certain height. You can also crouch slide when going downhill to move faster and save stamina. If you're sprinting downhill, just hit crouch and you'll go into the slide. If you're downed, you can actually still activate the extraction and return to Speranza successfully. This is useful if you get downed right as you're extracting. Unlike other games, shields actually only mitigate damage in this game, not completely negate it. Light shields, for example, only block 40% of the incoming damage. That means if you're being attacked, you're still taking 60% of the damage. Because of this, it's actually important to know when to heal and when to recharge your shields. If you're below 50%, healing becomes more important, and you're going to want to do that first. Then you could recharge your shields after that. Above 50%, it's actually not a bad idea to charge your shields first. Your positioning is important when you're playing Arc Raiders, and depending on you're playing solo or in a team, you're going to want to make sure you stick to certain areas. When you're playing solo, open areas actually tend to be safer. That's because most players don't want to risk a PvP engagement in the open, since they're more likely to get attacked by Arc or other players. When you're playing solo, you're most likely to encounter PvP engagements when you're in high loot buildings or points of interest, or when you bump into them in a secluded area. The main danger when you're out in the open is the Arc themselves. And if you do engage with them, you're going to want to make sure you do it from cover. Either behind walls, trees, or even in buildings themselves. You can do this to attack them from cover without having to worry about getting hit yourself. Just remember that PvP becomes more likely when you're in these buildings. If you're playing in a group, I'd almost do the opposite. I would try to stick to cover as much as possible. That's because players are less afraid to engage you when you're out in the open when they're playing in a group. And Arcs really aren't your biggest threat when playing on a team. It's the players themselves. So you're going to want to stick to buildings whenever possible and use cover and listen for enemy footsteps and noise as much as you can. Early on, I'd recommend focusing on short loot and extraction runs for fast XP and low risk. You usually fill up your inventory fairly quickly by hitting one of the points of interest. You can loot it fast and extract early to be able to rinse and repeat. Most loot is gone later in the match, so staying too long isn't worth it. Also, don't sleep on quests. They give strong XP, gold, and even rare blueprints. Some quests unlock explosives like the trigger nades, and even the epic hull cracker, which you can use to take on bigger enemies like Bombardiers and Bastions. It's good to track multiple quests at once, and be aware of what each one is asking you to do. You can usually either pick off parts of them or do them completely while you're out doing looting runs. As for XP and progression, make sure that you open every container when you're out looting. That's because you get solid XP just for opening a container, even if it's already been looted by another player. So if you see a bunch of containers that are open, just go up to them, search them quickly, and you'll get a bunch of XP for very little effort. This is probably the best way to level up early on. Later on, large Arc enemies like Bastions, Bombardiers, Leapers, and Rocketeers give massive XP. Use heavy or explosive weapons to take them out quickly. You'll be able to gain a ton of XP, and their parts are pretty valuable when sold. Make sure you're selling loot often. It's the fastest way to earn coin early on. But be careful when scrapping items. Some are required for quests and projects. I recommend referencing a list online to see if an item is needed for a quest or not. That way you know you're scrapping it or selling it without any risk of needing it later on. Some of the items can be pretty annoying to get, so if you find it early, you're going to want to make sure you hold on to it. Similar to how you can recycle items when you're back at your base, you can also salvage items in the field. This lets you break parts down, letting you reduce the weight of items and helping you carry more. The only drawback is that when you salvage an item versus recycling it, you get less of the base components. You've probably noticed the unload backpack option at the end of a match. This lets you quickly unload your backpack into your inventory. But did you know there's a merge stack and unload backpack option when you're in your inventory itself? The merge stacks option is especially good for helping with inventory management. And the unload backpack option is great so you don't have to manually move it one at a time if you didn't unload at the end of a round. Also, you're going to want to focus on upgrading your stash early on. But avoid overspending since costs increase quickly with diminishing returns. Also, if you want to free up more space, you can actually attach mods to weapons you're not using in your inventory to help free up even more space. And if you actually click on the item you're looking to slot in, it'll show you all of the available items you have in your inventory that you can place there. So if you just want to sort by weapon, you can click on the weapon slot and you'll see all of the weapons you have available. You can then click the one you want and that'll directly slot it in. You definitely want to be aware of what the color means for each Arc unit. You might have noticed that white means they're just searching randomly, yellow means they're looking for you, and red means they've found you and they're going to engage you. But did you know there's actually a fourth color? If you see blue instead of white, that means they're searching, but in a particular location. You can actually use this to your advantage since they're usually focused on the area they're looking for in blue, and you can quickly sneak around them. It's also important to know where to target each Arc unit. Smaller ground-based enemies like ticks, turrets, and fireballs are fairly weak, and you can take them out with one or two well-placed shots, especially if you're using something like a Farro or an Anvil. As for enemies like wasps and hornets, you're going to want to know how to take them down. To take them out, you need to knock out two of their thrusters on the same side. For the Wasp, that usually means either the front 2 thrusters or one of the front thrusters and the same one in the rear. The Hornet has 2 armored thrusters, so usually you want to take out one of the front thrusters and then one of the back ones so that you don't have to knock the armor off of both front ones. Rocketeers are very similar in that you have to take out 2 of their thrusters to take them out. That said, they're a lot more dangerous, so you're going to want to make sure you have either heavy weapons when you're taking them on or really good cover. For the Leaper, you either want to target its eye or concentrate on one of its limbs. As long as you're in a building, you're usually fairly safe from the Leaper. Finally, for Bastions and Bombardiers, their weak points are either their legs or their back. Certain items that vendors sell have limited stock and restock daily. This includes epic items like the Hull Cracker, which you can only purchase once per day when you hit level 20. Until you unlock the blueprints, it's not a bad idea to buy these daily to build up your stash. That way if you lose one, you're able to quickly replace it and not have to wait a whole day for it to restock. Finally, don't be afraid to use some of your better gear. I've definitely made the mistake of holding on to items that I should have been using to help me advance quicker. A lot of the items you get early on feel like they're ultra rare, but by the time you get to later levels, you'll realize they're actually fairly common and you can quickly replace them if you do lose them. This will help you rank up quicker and get more materials faster. So what do you think of these tips? Are there any others that you can think of that I missed? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more Arc Raiders content. Until next time, thanks for watching.